Firstly, I want to give an update on the YouTube situation. In my last video, I showed how the new released video, which was performing great, all of a sudden just stopped. Well, I have since figured out why that happened. YouTube has been blocking my videos from the search. For example, if you search the video in question, it will not show up on any search results. The only way to see the video is to go to my actual channel. So they haven't removed the video from YouTube, they've just made it invisible. This is also happening to some of my other more popular videos. Now, it doesn't happen to all videos and it doesn't happen all the time. However, the top 5 starter psychedelic video hasn't flipped back on. Disappeared 4 hours after posting, then a few days later it showed back up again for less than a day, and since then it has never been visible in searches again. I have spoken to YouTube about this issue and they have told me that it is a glitch that their programmers are working, I'm supposing, tirelessly to fix. I don't know if I believe them or not. I would like to believe them because this is directly why my channel is going downhill and performing so poorly. It's because they are systematically hiding my videos from the search. I mean, if I make a video and no one can search for it or see it in related or have it even show up on their subscription feed, then how are people gonna know I posted a video? For example, even if you hit the bell, you're not going to be notified that the video exists because YouTube is hiding it from their platform. Moving forward, I have come up with some fixes as to how I can work around this. It appears that they are targeting videos that talk about a surplus of different compound names, and you know, I could try to hide from this by using more of the slang terminology versus the official terms. And you know, maybe I'll do that in a future video, but as for this one, fuck the whole thing. We're just gonna jump right into this. That being said, if this video follows the same trend as the last one, then within 4 hours it is going to be blocked from all search results. I'd also like to give a huge thank you to everyone who is supporting us on Patreon. I mentioned that without your support, I can't continue doing YouTube because, well, there's the chance that they're going to block every video from being visible here on out, and you guys really did jump on board. Now, if you do support what I'm doing and you haven't already, you can join our Patreon family. One would ask, why do I need so much support? I mean, Patreon right now is at $6,000 a month, which is absolutely insane. And now you have to realize that it's not like I'm taking home that whole $6,000. And also, I want to make this channel big. I want to hire a whole team. Like, you know, they've got BuzzFeed, and then there are other channels like Cut Video, and these channels have whole teams of people. Linus Tech Tips. I want to get to the point where I can do that. We could create so many different video series, and I have so many creative ideas that are just being stunted, not only because of YouTube, but also just because I'm a one-man army over here who's also got 3 kids to take care of and a house, and with all this quarantine shit, it's like my duties are just at a level that I've never had before, and it's making all of this very difficult to manage. That being said, if we had more support, then I could hire an entire team of people behind me and we can make Psych Substance yeah, something really fucking awesome, which I have no doubt it is going to become, regardless of the challenges ahead of us. We are going to get there. Slow and steady wins the race. So you can follow the link somewhere up here or in the comments to join our Patreon family today and help us beat this fucking YouTube shit where they're blocking my videos from even being viewed. Anyway, now that we've got that out of the way, let's jump right into today's blocked video. What I'd like to share with you guys today specifically are all the different drugs that I have been personally addicted to and the worst side effect of that addiction. This is something that I never really wanted to share because it's gonna make me look like a gosh darn drug addict. I'm going to be explaining these drugs in chronological order from, the first one I became addicted to the very last one. And yeah, let's get right into this. The very first drug that ever sunk its hooks into me was cigarettes, nicotine, smoking darts, bro. I started smoking at the age of 15, and I continued for a solid, 6 or 7 years after that, only to spend the next pretty much portion of my life going like a year or 2 off, and then I would start smoking it a little bit, then I'd go off, and then when weed became legal, I started mixing tobacco in with my weed, and then I realized, oh my gosh, now I'm smoking again technically, and I questioned whether I actually wanted to smoke the weed or whether it was just because there was some tobacco in it, and I've since quit, and that was over a year ago. So smoking has been a very sinister compound which has crept back up repeatedly all throughout my life. And just to be clear on how much I was smoking, I was averaging half a pack a day. But the worst side effect of smoking is, I think this is obvious, knowing that it's probably gonna fucking kill you. I mean, it definitely feels great, I'm not gonna lie, when you're having that cigarette with your coffee, which is spiking the dopamine release that it naturally causes, and we now know that cigarettes work also as monoamine oxidase inhibitors, which is a class of drugs that's not only mixed with ayahuasca to make DMT orally active, but it's also a not very common but still prescribed form of antidepressant. So you got to keep in mind that it's releasing dopamine, working as a monoamine oxidase inhibitor. So it's got these antidepressant, anxiolytic, and also sometimes productivity boosting euphoric effects, which is why people mix it with coffee, because the coffee also spikes dopamine a very tiny amount, but when you add that with the cigarettes, they potentiate and they synergize off each other, which is why so many people like smoking and coffee. And that definitely was one of my favorite things. Or smoking after workout was great because you've got that natural endorphin release. But a lot of those great feelings, when you contrast them with just knowing that you're going to die from doing it, well, it, in my experience, really nullified it. I rarely enjoyed my cigarettes fully. The only time I really enjoyed smoking was probably when I was drunk, which is probably also why I would go through so many, because being drunk, I stopped caring about the nasty side effects and I just smoke like a gosh darn chimney. Clearly, the worst side effect for most people is when it actually does kill them. So thankfully, I stopped before that point. I mean, it can always creep up on you. You can quit smoking, and then all the years of damage can come back to bite you in the ass years later. Like my grandfather quit smoking when he was in his 30s, and then when he was in his 70s, he died of lung cancer. Fingers crossed it doesn't happen to me. As for the second drug that I became addicted to, it was, lo and behold, alcohol. I started drinking also at the age of 15. It was just this really exciting thing to do because I was not a very good kid. Kind of like to defy authority, defy my parents. We would steal bottles of wine, red wine that they made themselves, even though it tasted god-awful. And I can remember numerous occasions just walking around late at night with my friends, just puking up this red gooey sludge. Ugh. And then, when I was 16, found out that I was going to have a kid. Having a kid at 16 was definitely not part of my plans. Well, I quickly began to depend more and more on alcohol to help just lull my pain. I definitely loved how it took away all of my cares. Frequently would get blackout drunk. When you're already arrogant as hell as I was, well, there's not going to be very many good qualities, if at all, that are going to come out when you're getting that drunk with your friends. So I destroyed a lot of friendships, and alcohol eventually became something that I was doing daily. Around the age of 25, even though I was broke, a lot of my money went to drinking. I was living with my parents after moving out with this girl that I dated for a while who, left me for someone else, which made me super depressed. And my daily routine was I would go to the LCBO, get a Mickey, go to Starbucks, get a coffee, mix the Mickey into the coffee, and I would drink and smoke a cigarette out front of Starbucks, and then sometimes I would go walk on the trail and just kind of cry my worries away, or other times I would go and try to pick up some girls. Interesting mix, huh? It wasn't until a very intense LSA, Hawaiian Baby Wood Road seed trip, which lured me back to the light side, away from the dark side, and I was able to quit. The biggest negative effect of alcohol for me, besides the hangovers, which were god-awful, the worst side effect really was making a complete fucking ass of myself, and then waking up the next morning and going, oh my god, what did I just do? It got to the point where some of the friends I did have left started making things up because they knew that they could describe me as being absolutely ridiculous, and they knew that I'd have no idea that they were lying. That was the worst effect, was just how blackout drunk I felt I needed to get and how much of an idiot I acted like. Other obvious negative effects are just knowing that I'm damaging my liver and becoming dependent on a substance that destroys your entire body. Alcohol is extremely harmful on all of your internal organs. It's one of the most widely abused compounds in the world. Most people don't even realize that it is a drug. Like when you experience even things like MDMA in average doses and you compare it to being like drunk, you realize that, wow, you're way more out of control and fucked up when you're drunk than on a normal dose of Molly. Speaking of MDMA, the next drug on my list that I became addicted to was MDMA. Now, I do want to preface this by saying when I was consuming MDMA, I never tested it. This was in the early days when I didn't even Google search the drugs to read Erowid or what have you about them. I was just going off my friend's advice, who basically tried to tell me that MDMA was this harmless shit because he was a drug addict himself and he loved the fact that I would supply him with M because I was the only one who had any money and I would buy it, and me and this one dude would just do M together. We lived in a student house near a university, and it got to the point where I think I average 2 to 3 times a week. And as you guys know, just how much it depletes your body of serotonin and affects the dopamine system, you're not supposed to dose MDMA more than once every month. Like, that's the maximum amount of use. It's recommended no more than once every 3 months. And a lot of people swear by no more than once every year or two. I like to point out that I think by the time I got to my daily use, we don't think it was M. We actually think we were taking a cathinone. I mean, maybe mephedrone, maybe methylone, which isn't going to be as toxic on your serotonin, at least not methylone. Mephedrone might be, I'm not sure, don't quote me on that. But it was actually for our benefit, well, for my benefit, that I don't think I was actually addicted to MDMA. At this point in time, when I was going through this addiction, the whole world was going through an MDMA shortage. So it was very common for a few years just to get methylone instead. And that's also what spurred more people to start testing their drugs, because there was just a surplus of these cathinones out there, and people were realizing that they actually never really tried MDMA. And one of the biggest differences I noticed when I finally knew for sure I tried MDMA was the amount of energy. Methylone and cathinones notoriously affect dopamine a little bit more, at least in relation to how much they affect serotonin. It's not as much of a dump. So since they're having more, relative dopamine effect, more affinity on the dopamine transporter or, receptor site, it's going to give you more energy. So we used to take it and just go for crazy walks. And then I noticed, well, MDMA sometimes did give me a lot of energy. A lot of the time it made me feel more relaxed and couch locked. But who knows? Maybe I was taking MDMA. I wasn't testing my stuff. This is why you should always test your stuff. The worst part of being addicted to the MDMA was how it became a total obsession. It was all I looked forward to. I was, dating a couple girls at this time, and they quickly either became totally unimportant to me, or I only wanted to hang out with the ones who would take M with me, because it was like the highlight of everything. It became all I thought about. All of my interests fell away. I actually sold everything I owned, just so I could keep getting money to keep buying this M or cathinone, whatever the fuck it was, because it was the only thing I cared about, was that high. It was the most entrenching drug that I had ever tried up to that point. It just became a total fucking obsession. And it got to the point where I was only happy when I was on it. My moods were just so low. In fact, I would often dose and then spend the next day or two just drinking alcohol, because it was the only way that I could manage the come downs. And then I would dose again. And I was also mixing with alcohol, which, as you guys all know, is pretty dangerous. And again, it was thanks to psychedelics that I was able to kick that habit, which I felt totally tied to, chained to it. I remember feeling like I was never ever going to quit. So thank you, psychedelics, for unexpectedly helping me quit smoking, alcohol, MDMA. Holy fuck, they basically fixed my life. Not to say they're not without their own dangers, which I've also touched on, but they got me off this stuff. Well, anyway, we're almost through the list. Actually, this is 5. Again, another top 5. Top 5 drugs I was addicted to. Well, the next one would be... Shit, was it Kratom? Yeah, the next one would be Kratom. Or Kratom. That one was sneaky too, because at the time, a lot of the internet was on the bandwagon that the withdrawal symptoms were very minor, and that it was really just this magical cure-all plant that fixed pain, fixed anxiety, fixed depression. Initially, when I started using it, I used it very sparingly, maybe a couple times a week, and I didn't feel any withdrawals. But it did get to the point where, due to increased pressure and stress from just running my YouTube channel, and my family started growing bigger and bigger, and then I started having, my daughter became a teenager, and that comes with its own slew of problems. Well, I started relying on Kratom more and more to help with anxiety, and I quickly became totally dependent on it. It got to the point actually where I was taking it like 5 or 6 times a day. Like every 2 or 3 hours, I would top up with a booster dose. Like I'd start with 6 or 7 grams, and then every few hours take another 2 or 3. So I was fucking hooked like crazy on this shit. Goes without saying, you might ask, why didn't psychedelics save you from that one? Well, at this point, I really wasn't tripping due to some terror trips that scared me off them. Anyway, the worst part of Kratom, actually, was the withdrawals. I would say once you're doing 3 times a day, the withdrawals become fucking terrible. At least for me. There are people who argue they don't get withdrawals, they are the lucky ones. Every drug affects every person in a different way, but for me, the withdrawals, oh my god. And they lasted like 3 weeks until they finally started lessening. I couldn't sleep. My legs would like shake, my whole body would vibrate. I felt like I was gonna have a fucking seizure. I felt like I had the flu, terribly sick, absolutely depressed, like the most low mood of my life, way lower than an MDMA come down. Rock bottom feeling. Like there was nothing good in the world, nothing to live for kind of feeling for days or weeks after quitting. And that's one of those drugs where I didn't just quit it once. I've actually gone through a run of 5 different withdrawals, meaning 5 different times I've gone through it, gotten totally clean, and then started taking it again to the point of needing to quit and go through withdrawals. Will I ever be totally free from it? I don't know. I would say that's up there also with the top negative effects. Besides just not being able to get the fuck off it, the withdrawals being so bad for me, it became my go-to whenever shit got really hard, and I stopped depending on myself to work through my problems, and I started depending on that drug. Anyway, let's try to breeze through this and get to the last drug, which I became addicted to, which I think was probably the worst I would say it was the worst actually, and that would be my prescribed ADHD medication. I was taking Vyvanse, which is lisdexamfetamine, and I was also prescribed Dexedrine, which is just dextroamphetamine. The difference between Dexedrine and Adderall is a 75% dextroamphetamine, 25% Levomix, versus Dexedrine is 100% dextroamphetamine, which is a stronger CNS, central nervous system stimulant. So Dexedrine is arguably more potent than Adderall, which is also what Vyvanse converts into. So I was on like the most dangerous amphetamine you could be on. Now there's a whole slew of negative side effects, which I've recently talked about in a swim video, so I don't want to repeat all of that, but there was actually a huge negative effect that I forgot to mention, which was also the worst negative side effect, and that was the memory loss. Not only did I get to the point where I felt like I needed to take it to work, and not only did my dose ramp up from 20 milligrams a day to sometimes 100 milligrams a day just to get the same effects that 20 used to offer because of, tolerance, but my memory, especially at those high doses, was so negatively affected. I would full on forget conversations. I had to write things down. When you're like holding your keys, but you're looking for your keys. Imagine feeling that all the time. I actually got scared. That's one of the largest reasons why I quit, because I felt like I was going to get early dementia or Alzheimer's, or I was just going to have an impaired memory function for the rest of my life. I was basically like a 60 or 70-year-old when it came to memory function. Yeah, the worst side effect was the memory loss. It was fucked up, man. I never want to feel like that again. Now, again, there were way more negative side effects of taking it, like not just feeling like I needed it to work, but decreased appetite, gastrointestinal problems. There's a lot of nasty shit. Oddly, one of the...
Being super nasty to everybody. Sorry, did that help?
I forgot that one. Come here. You can mention. So I've gone through the 5 drugs that I've been addicted to in my life. Okay? The top 5.
Only 5?
You're not in the screen. There's the screen. There have been 5 drugs. Hold on. Check this out. We got matching glasses because this is... When you talk, though, don't look in that because it's like you're checking your... There, look up here.
I like checking myself out.
Apparently. We love each other again. Who would have thought? All thanks to... Wait, psychedelics?
Yeah.
So yeah, what were some of the negative side effects of me taking amphetamines to help me work?
You're nasty. I didn't see you. No?
No.
By
the way, this video is going to be blocked and I don't give a shit. I'm just going to release it anyway.
You cared too much about shit that didn't matter.
Like that! Wow, still caring. Okay, what else?
You didn't spend any time with anyone.
No, my kids. That's true. How did I forget that? I didn't even know who my son was. Now we have a fantastic relationship. I mean, that's pretty good. That's a lot of nasty side effects.
You're aggressive.
What do you mean aggressive? Like just angry all the time?
Angry.
Yeah.
Angry. You thought you knew everything. You thought you were doing everything.
Oh, it made me think I was smart. Yeah. That is a sinister trickster. It just didn't agree with me. Or my family. It helped me get work done in the beginning. And then it actually got to the point where I would take it. And sometimes I just feel super sexual and I just want to masturbate the whole time. Like, it made me feel crazy.
You didn't sleep.
Yeah, I go days without sleeping, which definitely didn't help anything. Wow, there's a lot of negative side effects.
You stopped caring about your body.
Oh yeah, I'm getting in shape now. You'd think that an appetite suppressant would keep you thin and fit, but I actually got fat on it. Any more?
Your skin was awful.
Oh yeah, my skin was awful.
Nobody liked you.
No, nobody liked me. So would you say that was like the worst drug I've ever been addicted to?
Well, probably, because there was absolutely no connection with it. It was totally isolating.
Like, yeah, we lost our connection because I just wanted to be alone all the time when I was on it. Like, I needed to. I would take it, and I would feel like if I wasn't by myself doing work, that I was a major sin was being.
You were addicted to methadone or methadone or
methadone or MDMA. Who knows what it was?
You just lied and disappeared.
Yeah, I would lie and go for walks. You never really knew me when I was really addicted to alcohol.
No.
No.
Tobacco, you just smelled really bad.
Yeah. What about kratom? You don't even notice that one.
I'm still angry. Not as angry.
That's right. I forgot. The kratom, as it would wear off, you feel like someone's, like your whole body is tense. At least for me, I would feel really, for a solid 2 to 3 hours, sometimes longer, as it would wear off, I would get angry. And if I was taking it multiple times a day, it would be wearing off multiple times. And I go through multiple periods of just, ugh. Yep. 100%.
I mean, it's funny because there's a correlation with the MDMA and the kratom that you'd have that like shame thing of hiding it away.
Yeah, that's true. I would always hide the kratom. I never wanted her to know how much, or even if I was taking it, sometimes I'd get addicted to it and I wouldn't talk about it. It would be a hidden thing. Versus the other things I never hid. Shame was attached to them.
I'm in the middle of doing laundry. Can I hop off?
With the hops.
Like a bunny. Because it's Easter.
Hopping. That makes me think of scammy marketers. They're always like, yeah, hey Adam, hop on a call. And all I think is hop on a dick. You want to hop on a dick?
No. Ari is dead set on just eating candy and chocolate and cupcakes today.
I told him yesterday that on his birthday he's allowed to eat chocolate all day.
He told me I said that, and he said
no, I said you can eat so much chocolate tomorrow. You just eat all your chocolate.
He just keeps looking at me and saying, "But you said I could."
No, all right. Let me finish this. This is a long ass video. Thank you for your input. It's greatly appreciated. I love you.
I like being able to share all the negative stuff about you.
You do?
Yeah.
That's mean. Anyway, there you have it. This video has gone on long enough. If you do enjoy these videos, again, make sure you check out our Patreon. Need your support more than ever because YouTube appears to be blocking my content. There's a really good chance that this video will be blocked, and there's a good chance that a lot of you guys aren't going to see it. So I guess what I could also do is after this video is released, I can release another non-drug related video that literally just says, hey guys, in case you missed it, I have this video that's kind of ghosted and you can follow the link to watch it. I might do that. That's a possible, solution. Other solutions is, start doing my website more, which I'm also going to do. I have a lot of stuff in the works. It's kind of overwhelming, but definitely need your support on Patreon so I can turn this into something huge. Hire a whole team of motherfuckers behind me to make these videos something that they've never been. I don't want to make that promise because it all depends on how much support we get, but that's my current dream. I want to turn this into something big. Huge thank you to everyone who's pledging on Patreon right now. Love all you guys. If you want to see your name in this list popping up here, you can join Patreon and become a top supporter. Anyway, we're going to make it through this YouTube shit. I have faith. And, even if we're not on YouTube, I will still keep making videos. As long as I've got your support, which you guys have showed me that I have, which I'm so grateful for, then I know that I can keep doing this, even sans YouTube. Anyway, hope you guys all enjoyed this video. Leave a like, leave a comment. I'd like to say that liking and commenting will help the algorithm, promote it more, but if they're hiding the video, then there's absolutely nothing that'll fucking help it. Take care, guys.